Sorry for the delay. I hope you can see the screen now. Hello?
Yes.
Okay, hello? Okay, fine, fine. Sawa, ukimaliza uniambie. Sawa. Hello. Sawa, sawa. Good. So I hope you can still see my whiteboard. Sawa, sawa. So we had devised some questions in this handout. Yeah. Logic revision. So the question that we want us to deal with is from question number 6. Tulikuwa tumefanya 1 to 5. Question 6 on the logic. Nimekufuadia sahi. Just check your inbox. So hiyo mwisho, yes. Number 6. Yeah. So 6 is to construct the truth table. Construct the truth table. So the first statement is not P and not Q. So the first thing when it comes to drawing the truth table, you have to know how many rows you require in your truth table. The first thing to determine. So like in this case, how many rows do you require? Now, row number is given by, the number of rows you require is given by 2 power n, where n has different letters in zimetumika. Yeah, 4 rows, because there are only 2 letters P and Q. So then now you'll write this first column, you define statement P. Second column, you define statement Q. Then third column will be not P. Fourth one, not Q. And then finally the whole result. Yeah, not P and not Q. So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I hope these ones, you know how to fill that. We start with double true, then false. Then ingine inakuwa true, false, true, false. No. Yeah. So that's usually the starting point. So how do we fill the column for not P? That's false, TT, and then Q. Yes. False, true, false, then true, correct. So that's what we have. I hope negation haina shida, sindio? Yeah, and then now, so this one now we have not P and not Q. So false and false gives? Sasa, okay, sasa hizo shida ndio maana tuko kwa hii class. Okay. Yeah, those small bits that you are having difficulty, that's why we are doing these classes. So the key thing is that I hope now, remember this is usually the structure and how these logical operators are. So first one tunaanza na negation. Alafu tukitoka negation tunaenda conjunction. Then from conjunction we go to disjunction. Then from disjunction we go to conditional. And then from conditional we go to biconditional. Biconditional. And then negation we use this sign. Conjunction we use this sign. Disjunction tunatumia hii. And then conditional tunatumia this arrow. Biconditional tunatumia 2 arrows. Hope the signs, I hope you remember the signs. Yeah, so the first thing, kama uko hiyo, then it's okay. So negation, I hope from what you have defined for column not P and not Q, hapo una shida in terms of the drawing the good. Yeah. So as for conjunction, this is what you need to remember. So conjunction is only true when we have true and true. So you only get a true value when the first statement is true, the second statement is true. Otherwise, unaweka false. Sawa? Yeah. So like here, bado kutakuwa na F. False. Yes. Yeah. So that's what you note. So hapa tu penye kunakuwa na T itakuwa hapa chini peke yake. True ndio inatupatia true. But true na false will give us false. False, true. False. False. Yeah. So usually that's what we do. So it's not very hard to interpret it on a truth table that penye unaweka true peke yake kama una dealing with this conjunction ni mahali penye kuna true na true. But kama ziko mixed up kuna mahali F unaweka F. Okay? Yeah. So if you are to classify this as a contradiction, tautology, ama contingency, utaclassify it. As we told you to draw and then classify. Is it tautology? Okay, so there are these other three related terms. So this is what we call tautology. So tautology is a compound statement. A compound statement, which is always true. Yes, truth values of its simple components, okay? Yeah. So regardless of the truth values of its component constituent statements. So when you draw a truth table for tautology, utapata kila mahali inakuwa na T throughout. Okay? And then opposite of a tautology is what we call a contradiction. So contradiction now is the opposite of this. So it's a compound statement. Compound statement which is always false. Regardless of the truth values. Of its simple statements. So the opposite of tautology is a contradiction and vice versa. Okay? Hello? Hello? Are you able to hear me? Hello? Hello? Yep. Pole. Sawa. Sawa, tautology. Yes, so tautology. So I was saying tautology is a compound statement which is always true, regardless of its simple statements. Then when you draw if you are drawing a truth table, for tautology, everything you'll find to be true. Okay? So the column of that compound statement, when you fill in all the truth values, you should see that everywhere there's a T. Then the opposite of a tautology is what we call a contradiction. So you always get, which is always false, regardless of the truth values of its simple statements. So for the case of a contradiction, when you draw a truth table, then the column for the compound statement will have everything to be an F. Okay? And then now there's another term we call contingency. Tautology nor contradiction, yes. This is neither, so it's compound statement which is neither a tautology nor a contradiction. The notation. We don't have a symbol for denoting the contingent. So what is not a tautology nor a contradiction is called a contingent. So which means then now, in the case of a truth table for this kind of a statement, you'll find this mixtures of T and F or F and T. So both of them will be there, okay? Yeah. So like on what we have drawn, or this statement for not P and not Q. Now from the structure of these truth values, what will be the classification of this statement? Contingency, because now there's a mixtures of F and T, okay? Yeah, so these are contingency. That's what that statement give us. So then I want now in number 2. I want you in your book to draw this and tell me what you get as your final values. I hope from the statement itself you know how many rows you require. How many? Four, because there are only 2 letters, okay? Yeah, correct. So then I'll construct the truth table and then you let me know what is the Yes. So, what's the first thing? What is the verdict on that statement? What is the verdict? What is the classification? Contradiction, tautology, or contingency? From your final answers. Contingency. So let's see. Column 1 is P. Column 2 is Q. Then what is column 3? Not Q, correct. And then column 4. Yeah, so we'll have P and not Q, correct. Then lastly, the whole thing, okay? Yeah, so the whole thing now. So we have first row, second, third, then fourth. So true, true, false, false, true, false, true, false. And then this column read for me as what you have. Followed by T. Correct. Then this one. F, followed by T, F, F, correct. Then these other one, lastly. Yes. T, F, T, T. Yeah, because this last column depend on the second last one, okay? Yeah, so then verdict, because we have mixtures of T's and F, then these are contingency, not a contradiction or a tautology. Good. Then number 3. So which sign is in number 3? Which logical operation? What is the meaning of this sign? The sign between P and Q is? Disjunction, correct. So these are disjunction. What do you know about when you are drawing truth table for disjunction? What do you expect to have? When do you get an F? Yes. Mm. Remember, so this one here, note that this disjunction sign, F only when we have F and F. Otherwise, you get true. So unaweka F peke yake kama the first statement ni false, tena second statement ni false. Yeah, lakini ukiona kuna mahali kuna T, then everything becomes T, okay? Yeah. So how many rows do we require in this case? No, these are disjunction operation. These are disjunction operation. What do they? It's 2 because we still have just letter P and Q, okay? Yeah, so the first column, I'll have P, second column, Q, third column, and not PVQ. You say P or Q. P or Q. And then next column. So which will be? Sasa just ni not. Sasa unaona hii bracket utakuwa na jibu moja and then sasa hii this from another part. Okay? Yeah, so unaweka now the column for not Q, sasa ndio weke yote. Okay? Yeah, so P or Q or not Q. So we have row 1, row 2, row 3, then row 4. So true, true, false, false, followed by true, false, true, false. Correct. Haya, sasa this column is defining the operation of a disjunction, and disjunction simply means or. Okay. So true or true gives true or true is true. True or false? True. False or true? True. False or false? Of course, false. Okay. This column depends on the okay? So ya kwanza itakuwa F T F T. Correct. Then so the final answer is just taking the values in column 3, then using the connect code with the values in column 4. Okay? Unaona hii ya mwisho hapa, you have the answer for this bracket. Yeah. Now you have the value for the column for not Q. So what is happening here is that we are just connecting these two columns using OR. So true or false? True. True or true? True. True or false? True. False or true? True. So what is the verdict? Tautology, correct. So then this is how you frame your answer. You say, since all the truth values in column of P or Q and or not Q are T, the statement is a tautology. So therefore that becomes a tautology. I hope it's okay. I'll share this after the class. Okay. Then next one, number 4 is not P implies R and P if and only if Q. So the first thing I want you to tell me, how many rows do we require for this? Power, which is 8. So here we require 8 rows. A2 power 3, which is 8 rows. So let me do this. So this is the P. Then I have R. Then I have Q. Then the next column, I will define which statement? P, not P implies R, isn't it? This first bracket, okay? Not P implies R. Then next, we define next one we define. Yes. Yes, I can hear you. So this first one is geoconditional. So just read it as implies. So you transform not P implies R. And then so what will be the next column? So the right bracket, okay? So P, if and only if Q. You in a sum of P if and only if Q. Then the next, the whole thing, correct. So I'll have not P implies R and P if and only if Q. So this is what we have. So that's step one. Now tell me, how do I fill the column of P? Please, just follow through. After this one, I'll share the notes and the recording. So you don't waste a lot of time unless I tell you to write. I'm saying for us to save on time so that we cover a lot. If there's something I need you to write, then I'll let you to write. So if there's an assignment, something I want you to write, so before we continue, then you write. If not, then you can just you follow through, and if there's a question you ask, so that we don't waste a lot of time. It may be hard for you to connect both writing everything and us moving. Yeah. So if it's necessary I want you to write something for me to check, then I'll let you know. But then I'll share this after the class, just to save on time. Huh? Yeah. So my question is, how do we fill the column here P? At call. First four, tunaweka T kwa first four and then? Yes. F, the last four columns we put F. Good. That's how we fill the first column. Now second column tunafill aje? So we fill double truths, double false, and then double true, double false. Yeah, the thing is that this is how we demonstrated in class. Tunaanza na the first thing, we know that any statement can either be true or equal false. Yeah, there are only two possibilities. It can either be true or equal false. Now already we have determined that tuko na how many rows? 8. So if you have 8, ukidivide na 2 unapata nini? Yeah, 4. So that's why mara kwanza tunasema tunaweka 4 T's, tunaweka 4F. Sawa? Sasa that's the way we fill column 1. Sasa column 2 tena we branch. Sasa unasema hapa, then when you are doing the second time, it still can be true ama ikue false. Okay? Similarly, hapa bado itaweza kuwa true ama ikue false. Sasa this branch hapa inatoka kwa 4. So 4 ukidivide na 2 unapata 2 2. So hapa inakuwa 2 2, hapa inakuwa 2, hapa inakuwa 2. So that's why inasema in the second column tunaanza na 2 T's followed by 2F followed by 2T followed by 2F. Okay? Yeah. Then sasa tunamalizia ya tatu. Still it can either be true ama ikue false. Still this one can either be true ama ikue false. Similarly, this can either be true or false. Also, this can either be true or false. So that's why the next column. So you need this is for two ukidivide na 2 unapata 1. So zitakuwa tu vile hivyo. Okay? Yes, yes. So they just alternate. You start with T, F, followed by T, F, T, F, T, and F. I hope it's easy to follow through. So which means that ukiwa na 2 power 4, which is 16, bado you just with the same structure. Unasema 16 ukidivide na 2 inakuwa 8. Sasa the first column will fill 8 truths followed by 8 false. And then 8 ukidivide na 2, then we just do what we are doing here. Okay? At every point you divide by 2, then you see how they are distributing out. So here, which operation are we supposed to define? You know, this one we needed to have defined a column for not P. So just to be safe, let's define a column here, not P. Okay? Because now in this column we'll require it. So not P. So the first itakuwa false. False mara ngapi? Mara 4, then followed by true. 4 truths, ndio? Yeah, because now we're just negating this column 1. Good. So here now, please note conditional, what we call implication, tukiwa na this statement, P implies Q, is only false when the hypothesis in the first statement, the hypothesis, in this case P, is true, but the conclusion is false. So conclusion in this case is this statement, statement Q. So inamaanisha penye unaweka false, if you are dealing with this operation ya implication, ni penye the first statement arrow inatoka kwa true na inaingia kwa false. So this is what we mean. If the structure is you are starting with a T value, then it is giving you an F value. Sasa hapo unaweka F. Otherwise, you put true. Nalona? That sasa the only place unaweka F ni penye the first thing unaenda kwa the where the arrow is coming from. So kama arrow is coming from a T value, now it ends with an F value, then you fix an F. Otherwise, the whole other space. Yes, the letter, yes, yeah. So where the N is coming from is letter or the statement. Yes. Q when false, then yeah, so then P implies Q in aqua false. Okay? True. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what we are doing. So which means then now, here arrow is moving from the column for not P implies R. So if I name these rows, niseme this line in 1, this line in 2, this line in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sawa. Sasa ndaka uniambie possible lines zenye zinaweza tupatia an F value. Possible lines that can give us an F value. So we are not saying that now that must be the answer, but they are saying the possibility. How do we check a possibility of getting an F in this column? Yes, that's become our reference column, correct? T. Row 5, row 5, row 6, row 7, ama 8, ndio? Yeah, so that's it. That's how you start it. Na sasa unaangalia what is the possibilities of fixing an F. But then now for you now to fully say that the answer is also F, itakuwa umeanza na T na umemaliza na F. Sawa? Otherwise otherwise the answer will just be 2. So from now, row 5, row 6, row 7, row 8. But remember, we are comparing not P and not P and this column here, okay? So from 5 to 8, where do we put an F? Yes. So mwenyewe ndio umesema correctly that because the R is moving from column not P, so tunaangalia penye kuna T values penye not P. Na tumesema ni from 5 to 8. Ndio? And then sasa for us to have an F, yafaa tukue tunaanza na T na tunamaliza na F. 7 and peke yake, si ndio? Peke yake ama kuna ingine? Yeah, it's only 7 and 8 because now we are 7, we are starting with not paid equal to true, na hapa tunamalizia na F. So therefore we come and fix F and we fix here F. So the other spaces you put, what do you fill in the other spaces? True, yeah. So the rest of the positions becomes true. Okay? Yeah. Good. So I hope now with the filling of that column, you have some sense on the understanding of what an implication means with respect to a truth table. Tunasema the first thing ni unaangalia penye unaweza weka F, okay? So that's usually what you look for. How the possibility of fixing an F. And you only fix an F penye arrow is coming from true na inaishia kwa F. Yeah, kama sio hivyo then you put true. So now there's this other the other operation of if and only if. So this one is only true when the statements P and Q have identical truth values. I know you are someone who has done some basic, you are an expert in language, so you have done some, you understand the meaning of the term identical. Identical haimaanishi ni true, inamaanisha inaweza kuwa FF ama true. Sawa? Zinamaanisha zinafanana, so not necessarily true alone, but also FF. So which means ukiwa na T, then arrow inatoka kwa T, inaingia kwa another T, then your final answer becomes also T. Also, if you are F and also you imply F, then answer also becomes true. Yeah. Sasa it's a very easy sign to interpret. Unaona tu there are two arrows. So ndio ikupatie the answer to be true, yafaa all those arrows go zina point to the same thing. Okay? Yeah. So if the arrows are pointing to the same truth values, then the answer is T. Otherwise, you get F. So line 1, do we put a T or an F? Remember this is this P if and only if Q. T because P ni T na Q tena ni T, sindio? And then line 2. YT. Yes. F. And then na hii hapa T ya 4 F F T F T, correct. Hope that will make sense. Yeah. So then now here, you shouldn't be scared by how long this expression is. The only thing we are doing here is we are joining this column here upper and this other one using the word and. Okay. So you need to connect because we already now have defined what this bracket is. Na tuko na values za hizi bracket. Okay. Yeah. So na tumesema and inakupatia t kama. When do you expect to get a t value? When you're interpreting this conjunction of this and operation. Identical. So uko na t tunapata t. Tunakuwa na do you mean so inamaanisha nini? Huh? Yes. Mm. 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 Ulisema nini? Ulisema nini? Maybe I didn't hear you well. Can you repeat what you said? Yes. We get na tukiwa na hiyo sasa okay. When you explain that, do you say that's the only case ama sasa unasema hiyo ni ya kwanza kuna ingine ama kuna ingine? Yeah. Correct. That's the only case, okay? That's the only case when we have this and inatupatia t. Itakuwa tu correct kama kila kitu ni itakuwa tu true kama kila kitu ni true. Atikuwa na mixtures ama kuwa na false na kuwa false. Okay? So inamaanisha row 1 tuweka nini? True, correct. Then row 2 false. Row 3 true. Row 4 false. Row 5 false. Row 6 true. Row 7 false. Row 8 so false or true? False, because kuna ka f hapa, si ndio? Yeah, so if you are to classify this itakuwa nini? If we are to make classification of this contingency, okay? Yeah, this is a contingency because there's a mixture of T's and F, okay? Yeah. So then number 7, verify whether the following compound statements are. So I'm spending time on this one so that now, if you're given any question on truth table, you should actually get the marks without struggling and be sure. You know, the thing is that you need to be confident on what you're doing. So that when ukishajaza your table, you don't start doubting yourself. Nimeipata correct ama wrong. So the more practice you do, then you'll be confident on what you are doing. So that by the time you finish the question, you are sure that this, kama imewekwa 3 marks, ama 2 marks, ama 4, ama 5, you will have them. Utapata yote, yes, that's what I mean. Na sio ngumu kuzielewa those operations because there are only 5. So the first one is P and Q and not into P or Q. So usually some people get confused with this kind of problems from going to the table because they're just scared of the expression. But the thing is that like come to high school or primary when you are using board mass. So you see, we'll have mixed operation signs, but you do one at a time. No. Yeah, so it's exactly the same thing we do on this logical operators. So the key thing, how many rows do we require in this problem? They're only four, because they're only two letters, okay? Yeah, so let me draw, this is my row 1, row 2, 3, and 4. So the first column, yes? Highest mark, ilikuwa, was it 70 what? It's 72 there. It was around 72 there. Ulipata ngapi? Yeah, that's good. So that's hii ingine ikuje unapata kila kitu. Because now you see what make people pass exam is not because they know everything. It's because now you have done revision, now you are confident in what you are doing. So that you read a question and you are sure of what you are doing. It even make you now to remember things as nakumbuka. So the confidence is what makes people pass exam. So someone who gets an A in a course does not mean they know everything. It's only that they are confident on what they revise, and when they start doing the exam, at least they're able now to connect dots on what has been happening. So, yes. And usually the university exam is one of the easiest. Because usually the person teaching you, the same person will say the exam and the same person will mark. And we usually set things we have already done. But if it's what you do even in English, it is they are those are the areas where they say most of the things the exam they said it's not imagination. They said what they have already given you. Yeah, so I'm saying I'm just giving us an example that but that when you are at university level, the things we do are usually very direct as what the teachers have done in class. Because it's not to see because like across all the courses, the lecturers will actually teach the person teaching you the same person says the exam and the same notes mnafanya class and the maswali that talk up all courses. So it's very easy to survive in university setup. So ukianguka mtihani university, we should actually blame you. Mwalimu ana shida. Sawa. Yeah. So column 1 tunaweka which statement? Tunaweka P. Second, Q. Third, first bracket, ndio? Yeah. P and Q. Next column. Yeah, to hii bracket ingine. So don't combine many operations in one column. Enda to one by one. The way you are saying it. So write what is in bracket first, P or Q. And then sasa na define hiyo hapa, not P or Q, okay? Yeah, not P or Q. Then finally tunaandika the whole expression. It's always good to be orderly so that don't put many operations in one, so that now when you make them separate, it makes even your work easier when you are now filling them. Because coming in one line, it may be very hard for you to interpret what to do. So this is what we have. And then I have P and Q, then and, not P or Q. So column 1, how do I fill? T, T, F, F. Then next, T, F, T, F. Haya, sasa hapa column 3 ni P and Q. So P and Q. So true and true. Give me true, correct. True and false. Gives me true and false. Remember, this is AND operation. F. Then false and true. False. False and false. False. Sasa hiyo nakuwa nimemaliza. So which operation is in column 4? Or. Yes, this is or disjunction or. Okay. Yeah, so true or true. Yes. Pattern true, correct. True or false? Yes. True. And then false or true in a pattern? True again. False or false? Tumesema or you can or inakuwa tu false kama kila kitu ni false, but kama unaona mahali true unaweka true. Okay? Yeah. So then the final line false because hapa ni false. Okay? Yeah. So the once you have done that line correct, hii ingine ni rahisi sana. You get the negation of the previous column. Sasa hapa itakuwa ni negation of T F. Negation of T followed by F followed by T. Okay? So inamaanisha ukipata column 4 wrong, tena column 5 haikuwa wrong. Because they are related, okay? They have opposite truth values. Then sasa which is the main operation in the last column? What are we defining? And is the main thing here. Inakaa kitu refu lakini and the connector and ndio tuna respect peke yake because tunasha define hii na ingine, okay? Yeah, so then we are now interpreting this column here. So interpreting this column, and these are the column. This column here and here, kwanza column 3. So this column and this column is what we are interested in. So what will be the truth value of the first space? F. So here you have F followed by F again, followed by F, followed by F again. So yeah. So what is the verdict? Contradiction, because everything is an F, okay? Yeah, contradiction. Yeah, the next one, I will have given you, but then just save time, waste time. So the easiest thing will be for me to do, and then you explain what it's supposed to do. So the question is K or Q, and not P, implies Q. When you are given a statement, you should not be scared. The thing is that you draw the columns for the truth table one at a time, so and then fill each column one at a time. Because we'll just be comparing two every time you are filling. So the first step, how many rows? 4, correct. So draw your 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So the first column obviously is P. Second column? Q. Third column? Yeah, so P or Q, the first bracket, P or Q, and then you will define not P, not P. Remember, you cannot say in one column and then you say not. Not P, okay? And then the next, we define all this square bracket, P or Q, and not P. Then finally, the whole thing. So this is what we have. So this is true, true, false, false, true, false, true, false. So tell me, true and true, true or true gives? Yes. Takupatia? True, correct. True or false? True. False or true? True. False or false? False. So you go complete. Then here we are negating P. So the first is F, F, T, T. Correct. Now here, what is the main operation in this next column? And. So in a car, but it's only just on a conjunction, okay? Yeah, so up to the main thing in the and. So we are relating column 3 and column 4 using and. So true and false gives false. True and false gives false. True and true gives true. False and true gives false. Okay? That's the last one. Which operation are we defining? What is the main logical operation being tested in last column? Implication, okay? Yeah. So this implication jaribio hapa, implication, or as you said, implies. So tumesema implies tunaangalia nini? So how do we fill the column involving implication condition? We look for, the first step is to look for how to fix what? How to fix false, okay? Hello? Tunaangalia how to fix an F. Na sasa hiyo F inapatikana aje? Hiyo F inapatikana aje? No. So remember this is the operation with an arrow. Na tumesema you get an F only kama arrow inatoka wapi na inaingia wapi? Yes, if the arrow is moving from T going to F, okay? Sasa in this table of ours, if I call this row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. Sasa which row has a possibility of having an F? I'm not saying that's the final answer, but I'm saying which is a possibility. Number 3, because number 3 ndio iko hapa na T, si ndio? Lakini sasa tuangalie hiyo arrow from T inaenda kwa which value? Inaenda kwa truth bado. So which means hapo yafaa tuweke nini? True, si ndio? Na sasa that's what the only reference yenye tunge kutupatia possibility ya kuweka F. Juu hakuna kila mahali pengine tunaweka true. Sasa tunaweka hapa T, tunaweka hapa T, tunaweka hapa T. Si ndio? So what the verdict? Tautology, because now everything is turning out to be a true value. Tautology. So by the time tunamaliza hizi maswali from up to number 7 and the last of number 7 and number 8, all these 5 logical operators should be part and parcel of it. Sasa that is number 3. So that's how we interpret that. Then number 4. Oh, this 302. That's 2. So we'll go number 3. So number 3 is P implies Q if and only if not P implies Q. That's what you have. So the first question always, how many rows do we require in this case? 4. We only have 2 letters. So we have row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. So PQ. And then next I should define the bracket. P implies Q. Then I define not P. Sasa twende step by step. Tuweke to define not P kwanza ndio tuweke bracket. Okay? So that we don't do 2 steps in one. Yeah, so not P implies Q. Then the whole bracket, the whole expression. So P implies Q if and only if and not P implies Q. So this is what you have. So this is true, true, false, false, true, false, true, false. Sasa najua sasa iwe ni expert. Sasa, but then what is another easiest column to fix? Not P, hiyo ndio rahisi kufix. So let's fix it. So the first space tutaweka F, T, T, yeah. So usually no one dictates that you must now, when you are filling them, you have to be orderly. You unaanza na zile rahisi, then as you fill your truth table. So then now twende kwa hii number 3. So if I name this row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. Now from our explanation on implication, which rows are likely to give us an F? Number 2. 1. 2 and 1 are possible candidates for getting an F. But then sasa tuangalie of those two, which one actually will give us an F? Tunaanza na T na tunamaliza na F. Which row? Number 2 peke yake. 1 haimalizi na F. So this is where I put an F. Okay? The rest, T. So put here T, put here T, put here T. Good. Then not P implies Q. So which lines give us possibility of getting an F? So this is also a still implication here. So what becomes your reference line, reference column? When you want to fill this column, where column tuko nayo sahi? Number 4, the column for not P, because the arrow is coming from the not P statement, okay? So inamaanisha which lines are possible candidates of possibility of getting an F? The last column, I want you to explain to someone who is not understanding these things. I know you have mastered them. So the first thing, what are the possible candidates? So yes, we know the last that we fixed the last line in the but yeah, F. But the possible candidates in which line and which line? 3 na number 4, sindio? Because 3 na 4 ndio zinaanza na TT kwa hii column, sindio? But then now we are with what you are saying now, because we need to start with a T, then we finish with an F. That's only possible in the last one, sindio? Yeah, so then we put here an F. So the rest of the positions we put true. So this will be true, true, true. Good. So the last column, which is actually the final answer that we are expected to have, what is the main operation are we defining? This is an biconditional, if and only if. Yeah, so this is an if and only if statement. So then now, tumesema if and only if inatupatia, au tunajuaje majibu? Yenye iko na double arrows, tunajuaje the final answer? First one and the second one are true peke yake. So kama according to what you're saying, ukikuwa na T, arrow T, jibu inakuwa T, si ndio? Is it the only possibility? Ana tumesema when you want to interpret this operation, it's very easy. Iko na arrows mbili, left and right, okay? So for you to get a T value, what arrow on the left is pointing at, and what is the, if the same thing as what the arrow on the right-hand side is pointing at, the answer must be true. Ndio tumetumia the word identical. Identical inamaanisha tu TT, inamaanisha itakuwa bado FF. Eh? Eh. Yes, TT, FF. Kama zinafanana. Na kufanana imaanishi tu TT, inamaanisha pia FF, okay? So then now can you tell me line 1 nitaweka jibu gani? True. 2 F. 3 true. 4 F. So hii inakuwa contingency, okay? Sawa. Then the last one inatupatia the statement P implies Q and Q implies R. All this implies P implies R. So this is number 7.4. So kitu ya kwanza, how many rows do we require in this case? Eight rows because kuna P, Q and R, sindio? So then tutakuwa na this row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So P, Q, R. Then there's a next space ya niandike nini? P implies Q, correct? Next, Q implies R. Next, let's do you try as much as possible to be ordered so that you don't get confused. But tuandike bracket ya square yote, okay? Yeah, so we'll have P implies Q and yeah, so tuandike hiyo kwanza. Then P implies R. Then whole this expression. So hii yote tunaingiza hapa. Okay? Yeah. So tumesema the first column tunafill aje? This case where you have 8 rows. T followed by 4F, correct. Then the second, yes. Then you alternate, okay? Yeah. And then the next one. Yeah, they alternate TF, TF, okay? TF, 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 TF. So I want you to tell me lines gani, no, as usual, tutakuwa na, let me label them. Tutakuwa na row 1, row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So which rows will give us a possibility of, will give us an F in this column? That's why we are an expert. When I need lines which I need to pick to fix an F kwa hii column 3, kwa hii column 4. Line 3 only. The fourth one is also a candidate of an F. Sindio? Is there any other? There is no other, okay? Sasa unaweka hapa T, 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 and T, okay? Yes. Haya. Sasa twende to the next column. Sasa which lines are going to give us an F? Yes. Line 2, correct. So I put here an F, and then ingine. Line 6, or? Line 6, correct. So F. The rest will be given by T, isn't it? Yeah, so I have T, 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 T. Now, kabla tufili hapa, let's fill this one for P implies this column ya P implies R. Sawa? Sasa P implies R niambie penye nitaweka an F. Ya pili, F. Fourth one. 4, sindio? Those are the only ones. So then you put your T, 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 T. Those are which operation is being defined in this column is being tested on this column. Yenye tumeruka hapa katikati. And. So hapa tu wana join and, okay? Sasa we have this column. Hii hapa. This column here. These are the column. Sasa hizi ndio tuna join with the word and, okay? True and true gives true. True and false, false. False and true, false and true, true and true, true and false, true and true, true, true and true, true. Good. Now that's check this one. Hii operation yote ina test nini? All of this thing. The whole expression here. Now we are joining this square bracket here. Na hii ingine hapa. So what connects logical connector are we dealing with when you are comparing all that thing? Implication, correct. So this is an implication. So knowing that that's an implication, then tuko na hii column, arrow is moving from this column. Arrow is moving from this column, going to this other column. So inatoka hapa, inaingia hapa. It's like it's moving from the green column, yenye nimeweka values in green, going to this pink column, okay? Are you seeing that? So which lines are possible candidates of getting an F? Sijasema ni F, but which lines are can give us that possibility? Arrow is moving from the values I've written in green to this column ya mwisho ya pink. Line. One, 5, 7 and 8, okay? Sasa twende kwa line 1. Line 1, what is your verdict? True or false? True. Twende kwa line 5. True or false? True. Correct. Twende kwa line 7. True. Twende kwa line 8. Still true. Okay? So then now the rest of the spaces tunajua tuweka T, ndio? Yeah. So the verdict of this compound statement? Itakuwa tautology because kila kitu imekuwa T, ndio? Yeah, so therefore these are tautology. So I hope up to that point now, you should now be trusted with drawing truth tables for compound statements. Because to share in all the problems we have discussed, we may discuss negation, we may discuss conjunction, we may discuss disjunction, we may discuss biconditional, we may discuss conditional. So, yeah, so then I want you now to try the remaining problems. Ukipata shida uniambie, so that next Saturday to commit, then we'll go through them. Saturday to meet from tuseme from 8 ama itakuwa mapema sana? Hiyo itakuwa mapema sana. Tuseme tuseme let's see. Acha niangalie hapa ni. Is 9 okay ama itakuwa tena mapema sana? 9. So let's say from 9. So Saturday 9 a.m. Yeah. Sawa. Have a good evening. Sawa. So I'll share the notes and I'll share the recordings and the notes. Okay, sawa.